In this tutorial today, I am going to do a very simplified, basic highlight and contour routine using 4 colors from Seint Beauty. If you are brand new to Seint, or maybe you haven't used it in a while and you need a little refresher, this video is going to be great for you. I'm gonna start at the basics and build our way up and just talk through the simple steps and how you can get a very natural looking highlight and contour in about 10 minutes. So I'm gonna be using our palette 8. This is technically a double-decker palette, but it is one of the smaller palettes that we have. I'm also going to be using the 3D brush, which is probably the most popular beginner brush. So most of you are probably going to pick this up for your first go round with Seint. I'm also going to be using my Perfector sponge. This is also from Seint. It is my absolute favorite beauty blender. I do have this damp to start, so I just ran it under the faucet, squeezed it out, and kind of rolled it in a towel, but it works best with the creams damp. So when you got a color match from me, you were matched to a contour, this really dark looking brown color in your compact. You are matched to what's called a main highlight shade, which is going to be the closest to your true skin tone, the closest color to your neck and your chest. You are matched to a brightening highlight, you could also call a concealer. This is going to be a few shades lighter than your natural skin tone. And then you were also matched to a lip and cheek, or maybe you chose your own lip and cheek. These are the 4 colors, the 4 basic colors in what we call a starter pack with Seint. So I'm gonna walk you through how to apply these 4 colors to get a basic highlight and contour. So first things first, you want to make sure that your skin is prepped and ready to go for your makeup application. If you have super, super dry skin, you want to make sure that you are using a good moisturizer beforehand. You can use a primer if you'd like. You can use a setting spray to start your makeup. Any of those are okay to start your makeup out. You just want to make sure that one of the first main ingredients on the ingredient list on the back of your product is not a silicone-based ingredient. So silicone, dimethicone, anything that ends with the cone is not going to work well with your cream makeup. So usually things that have water listed as the first ingredient are usually a thumbs up with the creams. But if you are looking at your product and like within the first 3 ingredients, silicone is in there, it's probably going to make your creams feel like they're sliding on your face because silicone kind of works against creams and it makes them break apart on the skin. So I'm using one of my favorite setting sprays today. This is the Milk Hydro Grip Spray, and I'm gonna use my Perfector sponge. I'm just gonna go ahead and spritz my sponge with the spray, and this is going to be my primer today. I'm just gonna bounce this all over the skin and press that setting spray into my skin to start. I love the setting spray because you kind of get double duty out of the product. You get something to start your makeup and you get something that helps set your makeup for the day at the end of your application. So my skin is prepped and ready to go. I am going to start out with my contour. Now, do you have to start with your contour? No, you do not have to. But I like to recommend that to ladies because I feel like it creates a roadmap on the face. It is a very easy outline to place your contour first and then fill in the rest like a paint by numbers coloring sheet. That's all this makeup is. You're gonna be able to do one simple layer on the face and it's going to be kind of a paint by numbers system. So you're only going to place these colors in specific areas of the face where it will accentuate your features. So I'm gonna start out with the rounded side of my 3D brush. This is how I like to apply my contour. The main thing that you want to remember with the creams is that less is more. These are not watered down. like traditional liquid foundation. So all of the pigment is going to be really packed into these tins. So you don't have to slather this all over your face. You don't have to use a ton. It is going to give good coverage with all of these colors right here, which is why we can place it in one layer on the face. So I'm going to do 4 simple lines for my contour. I'm going to start out with my cheekbones. So we're just going to feel for those cheekbones. I'm going to go ahead and dab my brush. I am just tapping, guys, just tapping. And you can start to see that it picked up some of the pigment. I'm going to feel for that cheekbone, and I'm just going to take this contour and stipple it in, which means dab, and press it into the skin right on the underside of that cheekbone. So it's hugging. You can see where it's pulled in right here. It's hugging along the bottom side of my cheekbone, and it is slightly on my cheekbone as well. I kind of use the outside of my eye as another stopping point so that I don't go too far over in this part of my cheek. So the outer edge of your eye is a great point to start. And then the top of the ear, right here where it connects, is a good place to stop your contour. But we're just going to press that contour in. So I went ahead and did the same thing to the other side of my cheek. Now I'm going to contour my forehead. So I'm going to go right here along my hairline. And this is just to help minimize the look of my forehead. I have a very wide forehead, so placing a shadow up here at the top is going to help the appearance of how large it looks. It's going to help shrink it down. With placing the shadow here with your cheekbones, it's going to give more of a defined cheekbone look. So I just kind of went temple to temple with my contour. I'm going to place this 4th line down here on the underside of my jaw. So I'm not bringing it up here on this part of my jaw. I'm doing it underneath. Placing a shadow down here can just help sculpt more of a jawline. It can also help with the appearance of a double chin with sagging jowls right here. We want to place the darkness wherever we want to minimize something. So I'm just going to place this contour right here on the underside of my jaw. If you want to, an optional area that you can contour would be your nose, if you want your nose to appear slimmer. So I'm going to show a really quick and simple trick for that. I'm going to take my ring finger and I'm just going to tap it into my contour. I'm going to rub both ring fingers together and I'm going to place them right here at the base of my brows and get those shadows as close as I can. I'm going to pull the contour down the bridge of my nose. And basically it's going to connect right there underneath the tip of your nose. So the closer you can get these shadows together, the slimmer your nose is going to appear. So these are the basic areas of contour: cheekbones, across the forehead, underneath the jawline, and the nose contour. So basically, if you can remember the hard parts of the face, think of more of your bone. Your bone structure is what we want to accentuate with contour. So it's going to go kind of in the outer edges of the face, and there's your outline. Next step isn't necessarily something that everyone is going to have to do, but I wanted to include it in case this is your issue as well, just like me. I have very, very dark circles that I need to color correct first before I put on the rest of my colors. So I'm going to color correct with a lip and cheek color called Frenchie. It looks more of a like peachy salmon color. Because it is an orange undertone to it. When you think of the color wheel, opposite of orange is blue. So most of the time, ladies will have a deep blue undertone to their dark circles. By putting this orange color on top, it can kind of help neutralize or cancel out that dark circle. So I'm gonna use this as my color corrector. Because these are all creams, this is a lip and cheek color. It can be used as eyeshadow, lipstick, cheek color, and I can use it here as well. So it's super, super versatile. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna get a little bit of this Frenchie on my finger, a very small amount, and I'm gonna place Frenchie right on the darkness. I'm not gonna bring it down in this area because that doesn't need to be color corrected. Just the place that needs to be neutralized. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pat that Frenchie in, very, very small amount. It helped block out. When you can definitely see the difference from one side to the next. So what I like to do is take my perfector sponge and I'm just going to gently press that in to make sure that I have all of it blended in nicely. Okay, so I've got my color correcting done on both sides now. I'm gonna move down my palette and we're gonna go on to my main color. It is going to match my neck the closest. So this is your main foundation color. I'm gonna switch sides of the brush and I'm gonna go in with this pointed side and I'm just going to dab lightly. Remember that this is super, super pigmented. I'm gonna go ahead and just take the product and just distribute it right in this lower half of the face. This is kind of the first section that I like to put my main shade in. Now, because I used that color corrector, I am going to place a little in the center just to help cover that Frenchie up. I'm gonna go kind of around my nose a little bit just to make sure I have any redness covered right there and even me out. And this is kind of the last area that I like to put my main shade. I kind of frame around my brows. Concentrated mostly down here, a little bit in the center of my under eyes, and just a little bit around my brows. So my last highlight color is my brightening. It is a few shades lighter than my skin tone. I'm going to use the pointed side again, and I'm just gonna dab into the tin. And we're gonna go right here in the inner and outer corners of the eyes. This is going to draw attention to the outer lift of the eye and the inner brightness right there. This can help make our eyes appear more open. So I'm just gonna place that brightness on inner, and I kind of like to take it up like a diagonal right there. I'm gonna place this color in the center of the face. We want to draw attention to our eyes. We want to draw attention to our mouth and right here in this inner triangle. So imagine an upside down triangle on your face. That is where we're going to keep this bright color to really make the center of our face pop. So I'm gonna put a little bit right here in my Cupid's bow and a little bit in the center of my chin. And then I like to use my pinky finger because I feel like I have more control with it, but I'm gonna add a line of brightness down the center of my nose and a little on the tip of my nose. But there is where my brightness is going to live, right here in this center triangle of the face. So now I have my 3 highlight colors on. I'm gonna go ahead and show how I blend these out. Because these are all creams, they're going to just marry so easily together when you blend. You are going to keep the colors in the general area that you place them. So we're not going to pick up a brush and start just smearing and swirling all over the face. We're gonna start with our lightest color first, work our way to the darkest color last, and I'm going to just press and stipple these colors in the areas that I place them. So I'm just gonna start pressing these colors in. You'll see me kind of go back and forth between a pressing and stippling motion in certain areas of my face, and then other times I will do a little bit of swiping while I'm pressing. So in this general area down here, you'll see me do a little bit of swiping. I'm gonna go right up underneath and just blend underneath that cheek contour. Again, just doing a combination of the stippling and the swiping. If you have a lot of texture to your skin, if you have acne scars, large pores, wrinkles, fine lines, those types of things, you're going to want to really, really press the makeup in and do less swiping. If you are swiping over the top of texture, most of the time it's just going to draw more attention to that texture. I'm gonna come up here underneath my eyes, and this is where I really want to press, guys. If you have that color corrector, like what I have on, you really want to press and not muddy your colors with that color corrector. So I'm just gonna press that brightness in and see how everything just married together. Come over here and do the same. Pull up between the brows, and I'm just gonna start to fan it out to the center of my forehead. And now I'm just going to gently swipe around my brows where I had that main shade. So whatever I have left on my brush right here, I have really, really red eyelids. So if you have a lot of discoloration to your eyelids, you can use whatever you have left on your brush to kind of conceal those eyelids. This is also going to double by doing this as an eyeshadow primer base, which is awesome to prep your eyelids for your eyeshadow. I'm gonna flip back to my contour rounded side of my brush. And this is where the magic happens with the contour. What I want you to remember with your cheek contour, you always want to blend upwards. We never want to drag the cheek contour down into the beard area. We want to keep it nice and high and keep it right there on those cheekbones. If we are dragging it down here, we're going to appear like our face is sagging. It's going to appear dirty, and it might even look like you've given yourself a 5 o'clock shadow. So I'm gonna start with this rounded side, and again, I'm just going to stipple. The longer the product has sat on my skin, the easier this is going to be to blend. The creams are going to just warm up the longer they are on your skin. So you can see my brush is barely moving. The bristles are not being pushed hard. I am just lightly pressing this in and lifting upward. You can see my cheek moving upward. But we're just going to press this cheek contour in and lift upwards. You can basically buff out your contour until it looks like there's nothing there. A lot of times, one of the first things that ladies tell me is that they are afraid to put too much contour on and then they over buff and it seems like there isn't any contour on their face at all. So don't be afraid of it, to apply it just like I did, and then just keep blending until you get it at the level that you like. If you get it too far into this area, I have it pulled far right here, it's going to just kind of erase with this end. Flip back to your side that had your lighter colors on it. And this is like a magic eraser, guys. Just pull that contour back and it will pull it right in here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this side of my cheek. And again, I'm just light upward motions. I'm gonna come up here to my forehead contour. And again, we're gonna lift this upwards towards the hairline. And just lightly press into the skin. When you get to that harsh bottom part of the line here, where it is meeting up with your highlights, just start pressing and that line is going to just disappear. Now you're gonna have this beautiful ombre look. You're gonna have the darker shadow. It's going to mold into kind of that medium shade, and then the brighter shade is going to fan out right here from between your brows. They're all just going to marry together beautifully. I'm gonna come down here to my jawline. This is the only part of your contour that I want you to think pull downward. So we're gonna pull this jawline contour down the neck. I'm gonna gently buff it in. Don't forget over here in front of your ear if you wanted to do it there, and just pull that contour down the neck so we don't have any harsh lines there as well. So I am all blended in except for my nose, but I will come back to it. Okay, last color in our palette is our lip and cheek. Again, the cream lip and cheeks are very, very pigmented, so they last forever. You don't need a ton. So I'm gonna use the contour rounded side of my brush, and I'm just going to tap in to my color, okay? You can see that it picked up quite a bit. So instead of like taking that color and putting it right here at the front of my cheek, I'm going to distribute it on the higher sides of my cheek so that I don't get too much in one area. So it's going to go right above the contours here. I'm gonna just place a little bit of this color right on top, resting on top of the contour. And instead of swirling this in a bunch, I'm going to concentrate on pressing it in. So I'm gonna use that end again that I just had, and I'm just going to press that color in. I'm pressing it in on the high side of my cheekbone, and I'm just gonna start to gently pull a little bit to the apples of my cheeks. And now it is giving more of that lifted look. So again, just pressing the color in, it's going to just marry right into the contour, and just lightly pulling a little bit on the apples of my cheeks. I can add a little bit to my lips. This is pink grapefruit. Final step to give everything that seamless blend, I'm going to use my Perfector sponge again, and I'm just gonna start pressing this in gently and bouncing it on the skin. And it's going to pick up any excess product that I have on the skin and make sure that everything gets the flawless finished look. I especially want to make sure that I am pressing in underneath my eyes, because we don't want anything settling into fine lines and creases underneath the eyes. Now I'm gonna come back to that nose contour. I tend to over buff my nose contour when I use a brush. So I like to come back and really press my nose contour in with my damp Perfector sponge. I placed those shadows there for a reason. I want them to stay so that my nose appears smaller. So I'm just gonna start to press that brightening highlight in down the center. Now when I step back, you're going to see the shadows on either side, and my nose is going to draw attention to the center with that brighter color. One final step that ladies sometimes like to do is setting their makeup with translucent powder. You can pick up our vanilla dust that goes right in your palette, or you can use another brand and use a loose translucent setting powder. You just want to make sure that it's finely milled. So I'm going to use our vanilla dust today, and I'm going to set my makeup right here in my T-zone, and I'm going to use my Perfector sponge. You can also use a brush, but you just want to make sure that you are pressing the powder in rather than swiping the powder on top of your skin. So here I picked up a little bit of that vanilla dust. I'm going to just start pressing it in right here under the eyes to help set my creams for the day. If you have oily skin, the translucent setting powder is probably going to be your best friend. But I'm gonna go ahead and just put it in right here on my upper lip area. And I'm gonna set my chin. And I'm gonna go right here in between my brows and just fan it out onto my forehead, where I typically get more oil throughout the day. So now my makeup is set with my setting powder. If you want to, you can add your setting spray as the very final step here. You can spritz, or you can just go ahead and put it on your beauty blender and press it in one more time at the end to set your makeup. So there is your finished highlight and contour. If you are not talking this through, this can take you 10 minutes to get out the door. Will it take you a few more minutes than that when you first start out? Yes, because you're learning what kind of coverage you like, you're learning where to place your colors and how to blend. It might take a little bit longer than that. But when you get this down pat, it becomes like muscle memory where your colors go. It's very easy to blend. Your skin is adjusted to it. You can get out the door in 10 minutes. I hope this helped for your first time applying your Seint makeup, or if you just needed a refresher on how to apply your highlight and contour.